So I watched this interview with Jared Anderson the other day. It's a very interesting interview. I highly recommend it. It's on the Fight Hub TV YouTube channel. And Jared Anderson said some very alarming things, some eyebrow raising things in this interview. He spoke about the fact that he's been boxing since the age of 8 or 9, so a very, very long time, and that he now feels burned out mentally from boxing and that he doesn't want to be in boxing any more than, I think he said, 3 or 4 years. He wants to retire in his mid to late 20s. Now, obviously, there have been lots of fighters over the years who have said similar things. I think Amir Khan originally said he wanted to retire by the age of 28, and then he pushed that back to 30, and I think it went on longer than that. Well, yeah, when he fought Kell Brook, he was well into his 30s at the time. So we've heard fighters say stuff like this before, and they always go back on their word. But as it stands right now, Jared Anderson seemed like he was very serious. He spoke about boxing just being a job to him and him not really being in love with it. He said that it started feeling like a job when he reached the, I guess, high level in the amateurs, when he started getting money. I think he must have been on the US national team. Certainly in the UK, that's when amateurs start getting paid money. When they're on Team GB, they get sponsorships and money paid and all this kind of thing, lottery money, I think. So, yeah, he said at that point it started feeling like a job because he was being told what to do. You have to be here by this time and, so on and so forth. And Anderson apparently is a free spirit. There are lots of things that he wants to do in the world. There are lots of things that he wants to do in his life. He doesn't see being a boxer as being a complete representation of who he is. He believes he's much more than that. And that's absolutely fair enough. But for us selfish boxing fans, we hear a talented prospect or contender now in Jared Anderson saying stuff like that, and we think, oh no, what a shame. We wanted to see this guy fight on for many, many years and become heavyweight champion, or at least challenge for the heavyweight title and fight the best of the next generation. But Jared Anderson, unless he's trying to create headlines here, maybe, is he just trying to say something which people would find alarming in order to draw attention to his fights? Because not many people are going to think that Charles Martin has got a chance against him. So if he puts it out there that, I'm not really into boxing and so on and so forth. Actually, I think this interview was conducted before Kosobutsky pulled out and Charles Martin replaced him. But even then, Kosobutsky is not exactly a household name in the United States or anywhere outside of, I don't know, Germany, if he is even a household name there. So, yeah, is it possible that Anderson's just saying something alarming and controversial to get eyes on the fight so people will be more interested to watch because they might think that Anderson's not in the right place mentally? I don't know. I mean, he came across as being serious, but some people are good actors, right? And if he is serious, this is concerning because Anderson has had it all his own way so far in a professional boxing ring. He's taken everybody out in good fashion. Yeah, he's been clipped with a few shots here and there, but has he even lost a round in a fight? I don't think so. The test is going to come mentally when Anderson's in a competitive fight. When he gets hit, when he gets hurt, when he's being out hustled, when he's being overpowered. What's he going to do in that situation? Is he going to be defiant and fire back? Will his ego kick in and say, I'm not going to take this from you, and act the way a fighter is expected to act? Or will he start thinking about being on a beach somewhere, being on a jungle safari somewhere, playing a flute like Keith Thurman, sitting cross-legged in Hawaii or something? Fighters have different interests. They're not all one-dimensional or two-dimensional human beings. Many fighters are very multifaceted, and they have lots of interests outside of boxing, as do I, right? I'm not a fighter. I had an amateur career, but yeah, I'm not someone that just sits around thinking about nothing but boxing all day. Boxing is only a small part of my life. My interests, I have greater interests outside of boxing, not in sports. Boxing is definitely my first love when it comes to sports, but I've got much greater interest in boxing outside of sports, which bizarrely seems to surprise a lot of people. But again, Jared Anderson is saying the same thing about himself, that he has many, many interests outside of boxing, and boxing is only really a small part of what he wants to do. It's a big part of his life in the sense that he has to dedicate himself completely to boxing. And he talked about taking layoffs because the interviewer said, well, if you feel burned out from boxing, why don't you have a rest? And Jared Anderson said, no, I can't take a rest because when I've done it in the past, I've taken, 2 or 3 months off. I come back and my fitness is not there. My sharpness is not there. My skills have eroded, even in that short space of time. So while I'm in boxing, I don't want to allow that to happen. I want to be absolutely on it and 100% sharp at all times. So he says he now just stays in the gym. But, as I said earlier on, he feels burned out psychologically from boxing. And again, one of the disappointing things he said is that he really doesn't care about world titles. He cares about making a boatload of money, making millions upon millions. And the interviewer said to him, well, that comes with world titles, right? And Jared Anderson responded by giving the examples of people like Jake Paul, who is making loads of money, Tommy Fury making loads of money. They've never been near a world title. So, yeah, that to me is disturbing talk from Jared Anderson from the perspective of a boxing fan. On a human level, of course, I get it. But when I'm in selfish boxing fan mode, I want to see this guy fight. I want to see him fight the best fighters. And when he goes in there, I want to see him go in there with a fighter's instinct, going in there feeling as though winning is everything, that is vitally important. And maybe Jared Anderson's ego is such that he would be defiant in a difficult situation in the ring, regardless of how he feels about boxing, whether he's psychologically worn out from it, from all the training and the money aspect and all that kind of thing. Regardless of all that, he still has an ego, and maybe that ego will be enough to make him act the way he should act in a tough situation in the ring. And, talking about boxing feeling like a job, yeah, it needs to feel like the love of your life if you're going to get the best out of yourself and go as far as you can take it. I can understand professional boxing, especially these days, making fighters feel kind of weary, making them feel worn down because everything is money and there's no genuine relationships in boxing. If you don't like the extreme focus on money that professional boxing has, stay amateur. Obviously with Jared Anderson, he knows he can make a load of money in the pros, so that's why he's doing it, apparently. But if you're not that bothered about money and making good relationships with people, friendships where it's genuine, if that matters to you more than money, then just stay in the amateur code. Because in amateur boxing, you do get a lot more genuine people. There are also, just as in professional boxing, people that are out to use you and, they have their own agendas in amateur boxing, definitely. But there are more genuine people in amateur boxing. A lot of these coaches are either coaching for free at the local amateur gyms or doing it for an absolute pittance, but they turn up because they love it. They love the camaraderie. They love the sense of belonging. They love, the youngsters looking up to them and being able to develop the youngsters and bring them on, sometimes get them off the streets and out of trouble. And, they've got good rapport with the parents and all that kind of thing. Some people really like all that wholesome family vibe that comes with amateur boxing. And as I say, if that's what you're in it for, if that's what you want, and you're not that bothered about money, there's no need to turn pro. Because when you turn pro, it is just pure leeches, sharks, lying, conniving, backstabbing. You can't trust anybody. Everyone's out for themselves, which is why I encourage professional fighters to be selfish. Do not get caught up by some slick talking promoter or slick talking manager or whoever, making you think that they really love you and they're really there for you as a friend. They're not. Right? I mean, that should go without saying. It's common sense, right? But you'd be surprised how many fighters fall for that stuff. So, anyway, I'll leave it there. have a watch of this interview with Jared Anderson. Says he wants to leave the sport. He's got no love for boxing. Is he just saying controversial stuff to generate hype for his fight so people might think the opponent has a chance? Or is this really how he feels? Let me know what you think. Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.